My name is Liz Partsch,
And I am Paul Rowley,
and welcome to Farm and Dairy's Weekly Rundown.
where we'll be giving you a rundown of all of the news of the last week. So
Yeah.
strap in.
And some of the news last week, but updates.
Yeah.
Yeah. But before we get there to all of that mess that Paul is going to be talking about,
Can't wait.
practically cleaning it up.
Yeah. We'll try. We'll try our best. Yeah.
Oh God. I'm gonna set a really beautiful scene.
Please.
Instead, that's how we're gonna start the podcast off today.
Let's get into a meditative
ready?
state with
Yes.
what you're going to tell us.
Okay.
Yeah.
Picture this.
Okay.
The sun is shining. All right. And there's a beautiful row of trees on this like hill with, on a farm.
Love.
And you see these beautiful furry, red, copperish colored Highland cow of all shapes and sizes. And they're just lounging underneath this row of trees. But beside them, there's a field dotted with dozens of white tree tubes separated by a fence.
Okay.
So they're over here, and then there's a fence, and then there's just like paddocks full of dotted lines of rows of like tree tubes, right?
Okay.
Soon these cattle will be moved onto this pasture, and while they won't get the shade today from there, it is an investment in the future at Pittsburgh Highlander Farm in Westmoreland County, Pennsylvania. Because as we know, traditionally in agriculture, we have had this assumption that it's only open fields and crops. Trees deter this type of growth. But in the end, like trees provide shade. Cattle need shade, just like you and I, right?
Yeah.
If we're sitting out in the hot sun all day, we're going to gravitate toward the nearest tree or like shade or shade, essentially, right? That's what these cattle are doing. So these newly planted trees are part of owner and farmer Mark Harvey Smith's efforts to implement agroforestry practices on his farm with the help of nonprofit PASA Sustainable Agriculture and the Western Pennsylvania Conservancy.
Love PASA.
Yes.
Unbiased opinion.
Yeah. They're a really cool organization. So Smith was able to get these trees planted for silvo pasture and a peanut buffer with the goal of providing shade, as I said, and nutritional benefits to his land and cattle. So Smith originally grew up on a dairy farm in Jefferson County, Ohio, Pennsylvania, not Ohio. I just wrote Ohio. Pennsylvania. Before attending Penn State University. After graduating, he spent a lengthy career in commercial real estate, only to return to the farm after his interest in healthy food once again started, just becoming of him. He started getting interested in specifically grass-fed beef.
Nice. So
Smith first started raising Highland cattle using rotational grazing methods on another farmer's property before renting his current 142-acre property with his business partner, Dana O'Connor, in 2014. But during this time, there would be several challenges he had to overcome. For starters, he really struggled with rotational grazing on this farm specifically. With 18 paddocks, he had to build fence that incorporated both access to water and trees, which proved to be quite difficult. Initially, he also moved the cattle once a week, but now kind of started moving them once a day. He's kind of had to change his routine. He also started experiencing problems with his Highland cattle. While the breed is particularly self-sufficient, also, great to look at. I feel like everybody loves a Highland cow, right? It takes almost 3 years to get a Highland steer to butcher weight on a grass-fed diet, which is a very long time.
Yeah.
So in 2019, he started crossbreeding his cattle with Devons, reducing this time to roughly 2 years now. Smith officially bought the property in 2022 and raises cattle, sheep, chickens, and pigs and sells beef, pork, lamb, and eggs. A portion of Smith's property is also home to a former limestone quarry. So over time, he's also had to kind of work on improving his forage quality through winter bale grazing because it was really bad soil. He actually did a Penn State forage analysis recently that said he's been doing a really good job, so that's great. But Smith would really take these regenerative agricultural practices one step further when he started getting involved with PASA. He started going to meetings, PASA. That's how he got involved with the group's agroforestry program. So roughly 3 years ago, PASA started conducting surveys to assess, really what farmers were looking for in their network, what they're doing now, and then what they wanted to implement on their farms. And Smith was one of these first farmers surveyed. And through these surveys, the agroforestry program was essentially born. Since then, the organization has also developed an agroforestry training program where trainees learn from mentors about the agriculture practice and how to plant trees on farms. So they'll come out to the farm and, just receive this education while also like planting the trees. Smith was one of the first farms to take part in the program. This past spring, he had 300 to 400 trees and shrubs planted on his farm. So part of the project was silvopasture, which is grazing essentially with trees and paddocks. And this provides cattle with lots of benefits, including reduced soil erosion, improving nutrient cycling, offering nutrient-rich food for cattle, and protecting water quality. Smith believes the silvopasture planting will also improve forage on his limestone quarry land, which he's excited about. The riparian buffer, which is now that's essentially tree planting along stream banks, that was conducted by the Western Pennsylvania Conservancy. And trees along stream banks also provide a lot of benefits. They prevent soil erosion as the roots stabilize the soil. They improve water quality by pulling out nutrients and filtering the water. And they enhance animal health by limiting access to water, which can expose them to harmful bacteria. There's another added benefit too, and I think you're going to find this really cool because you read a lot about water quality, and this is something that I didn't know that someone from the Western Pennsylvania Conservancy had told me. She said, trees also keep the stream cold, improving habitat for wildlife and rivers downstream. And I'm going to read a quote from her. She said, this water is going to end up in the Ohio River, and the Ohio River is too wide for a tree canopy to be the whole way across it. So it depends on all these smaller streams feeding it to stay cool. And that's what Alicia Trexler, watershed project manager for the Western Pennsylvania Conservancy, had told me, which really kind of like blew my mind. I was like, well, I guess that, makes sense because also hot water, what fish wants to swim in hot water, right?
That's true.
But yeah, anyways, these agroforestry practices are all on display at Pittsburgher Highlander Farm through tours Smith conducts every Sunday. He also offers an Airbnb stay at a tiny house that overlooks the property. Very adorable, very cute. Highly recommend staying that. Yeah, he really, like when I was driving up to the property, I just kept thinking, oh my God, this is such a beautiful property.
Yeah.
But yeah, so just really cool things happening on this farm. If you want to learn more about Pittsburgher Highlander Farm, they have a website you can go check out. It's in this story online at farmanddairy.com. And also, yeah, PASA is doing a lot of stuff through this agroforestry program. So if you're a farmer, they're always doing cool stuff.
Yeah.
So if you're a farmer interested in maybe participating, you can also look them up on their website and reach out. So
I have a question, actually.
Yeah.
I don't know if you discussed, so rotational grazing is very, very, to me, it's very cool. And I just, the thing that I kind of like, I'm going to play devil's advocate, I guess, right? Like, let's say like I suddenly owned like 40 cattle or something, right? The thought of having those cattle, the thought of it needing at least 2 years, and that's the crossbreed, for them to like be ready for like butchering. That's a long time, right? Why would you go through that as opposed to like pumping up your cattle with grains or whatever else, like to get them ready to go to the butcher meat? Like, you know what I mean? Like, what's the appeal of doing like the grass-fed route?
I mean, I guess it's all about morals, I think.
Okay.
Or not morals, because I mean, I'm not saying that,
if
you give your cattle hay, you're like a bad farmer.
No, right. Yeah.
It's definitely, because I mean, the farm that I get from the Partsch farm, they give their cattle hay. So definitely not saying that. But no, I just think it's kind of like what farmer you want to be. I think he took the grass-fed route. I didn't ask him. He might still, I think he might buy hay. I think he still feeds his cattle hay.
Yeah.
So, it's still grass-fed.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just think that Peel was like, he's really into regenerative agriculture. He wants specifically to be just very, and also if you can't just give your cattle a bunch of junk, because then like, their meat's quality is not going to be as good and people aren't going to want your product too.
Okay.
So I think it is partly that, when you actually take the time to feed your cattle the right diet. That's why forage is so important. That's why rotational grazing is so important, because when you do rotational grazing, you're letting that forage come back on different paddocks and your cows can continue to have that healthy diet.
Yeah.
I do think 2 years is still a really long time. I only know that based on what Rachel had said, who, our editor, Rachel, who owns a beef farm.
Yeah.
And yeah, she first mentioned 3 years is crazy, but 2 years is still a lot. So I think that might just be breed specific.
Cool, okay.
I think Highland, there's something about Highland, and I even asked Smith in this on a conversation, separate conversation that I didn't put in the story. Why does he think Highland takes so long to grow like that?
Yeah.
And he said that this is interesting too, which is maybe open up a whole different thing in your mind. But he said, well, Highland cattle, they're one of the few heritage breeds remaining.
Oh, okay.
So they weren't really genetically what am I looking for? Changed to grow fast. Like
Okay.
Angus, like everybody knows Angus
Yeah.
is like majority of what beef cattle are.
Yeah.
And they've been genetically modified to the point where like they are a fast growing
Yeah.
animal.
Right. Okay.
But Highland cattle, they're more of a heritage breed. I don't think they've really been trained
Yeah.
in that way, like,
Right.
genetically modified in that way.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
yeah.
That's cool. And I like that it's a part of like the philosophy of this farm too, where you sort of see that on display as well as like all the other things that they're bringing in here to make this such, it sounds like an exemplary, farm with the creeks and the trees, and
hmm
that's so
It
exciting.
was so beautiful.
Yeah, I
Yeah. And
bet.
and the cattle were so adorable. They had so many calves, and I love the Highland cows because they're so furry.
Yeah,
So I
yeah.
got to take some really cute photos. So highly
Good.
recommend you check out the photos,
Yeah,
everyone, online, because I have a lot of cute Highland
yeah.
Devon cattle photos for you guys. So
Oh, I love that. That's
yeah.
fabulous. Okay.
All right.
Well, cool. Okay. Um, should we talk about explosive diarrhea?
Yes. Let's do it.
Let's jump in. Okay. Well, welcome to, so what was 2024? Was that Brat Summer? I think.
Ew, was it that long ago?
I think it was that
Oh,
long ago.
don't scare me.
So I think that was Brat Summer 2025. I
Was
don't remember if that had any theme like that summer. We skipped it.
Was 2025 not Brat Summer?
No, it was 24.
Okay, this is
Yeah,
weird.
because it like tied into the election and everything. Remember?
2025 was like everybody wondering what the country was going to be like.
Yeah, there
in
was no like
2026,
there was
yeah.
no fun theme. I don't think we skipped it that year. Like I don't think we did anything fun.
Really? Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it was just like we're taking a year off or something. And then 2026 is the year of explosive diarrhea, summer at least.
Yeah.
So that's where we're at right now. So you've probably all heard about it because it is the national topical story right now, which is about an illness that is derived from a parasite that clings onto produce, namely lettuce, right now, and the parasite is called Cyclospora, and the illness that it causes, at least in people that ingest produce that is tainted with it, contaminated with it, the illness is called cyclosporiasis. So that is a little bit of education for y'all. I'm also going to preface whatever I'm about to tell you about this. A lot of it you probably already know if our readers and folks that are online right now. The chronically online are being like fed like a intravenous drip of information about this story, and that is because it keeps changing and evolving. And now the story, as of Monday, the 20th of July, has become very like political, I would say.
I almost feel like we're in a reality TV show
It's
this
very-
morning. Like I'm not
it's
even
very
kidding. This
surreal.
morning it was like, oh, this happened, and we were like, oh my god. And
Yeah.
then like an hour ago, like that exact thing
Yeah.
was untrue, and we were all like,
Yeah,
we're living in an alternate reality at this
It's
point,
right.
with
It's-
news.
I think, okay, so let me just set the facts first and then I'll talk. But
Yeah.
anyway, so yeah, this is the summer of explosive diarrhea. There are at least 1,200 cases confirmed in Ohio, although the case count numbers, depending on where you're looking, vary wildly, what I've seen.
Mhm.
And I'm trying to look at like public health dashboards and that kind of thing. And like, it's very hard to sort of use those. And sometimes like there's releases from like a week ago that are already like grossly out of date. And then it feels like sometimes people are just pulling numbers. And then also the numbers that we have are probably a gross undercount because people who, especially like maybe several weeks ago before this became such a big story, if they were experiencing the symptoms that are associated with this illness, like the watery explosive diarrhea, maybe a low grade fever, fatigue, hunger pains, weight loss, all of these things. They were probably not contacting public health offices to report these things because this is just only recently blown up. So anyway, undercount these numbers. Michigan currently leads the nation still, I think, in the most cases of this situation that has come about in the past couple of weeks due to most likely contaminated lettuce from a company that sourced it called Taylor Farms. This is the name you've probably heard a lot by now. According to the New York Times, lettuce from Taylor Farms, which is based in Salinas, California, but they have like production, they have farms, they farm through multiple states and in Mexico and in Canada, and they have production facilities like all over North America. They were I guess ground zero. This is where they're we can conclude that the lettuce, at least, that had the cyclospora was most likely derived from. Um, and health, the Centers for Disease Control, at least, and also the FDA was able to at least say that Taco Bell, as a restaurant, a fast food restaurant, got this lettuce. It was probably, in addition, also other fast food restaurants, but we know that Taco Bell, that's been like the name that the health departments and whatnot have been able to connect to the lettuce. Also, Taylor Farms makes bagged salad kits, which I happen to love because
Loved.
yeah, past tense, because I've been on a big Caesar salad kick for like a couple months now, and I'll get little I'll go to Aldi. That's where I go. I do all my grocery shopping at Aldi, and I get buffalo chicken tenders, and I dice them up, and then I put them in the Caesar salad kit, and I mix it up, and voila, dinner is served because I don't have time and I don't have a lot of money. So that is my like hyperfixation meal, and now I don't know what to do. So anyway, so that's kind of the situation. Did we talk about this last week? I think we did. So like, if, maybe I'm riffing on
You
stuff
might
we've
have. I
already
don't
talked
know.
about.
Refresher.
Yeah. As of today, there was a whole bunch of hubbubaloo about this story, like new stuff. The CDC, Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, is still insisting that the shredded iceberg lettuce that we know most likely was the source of this illness for so many people was served at Taco Bell restaurants in Indiana, Kentucky, Michigan, Ohio, and West Virginia. And that is what is behind some of the illnesses. Not all of the illnesses. Not everyone who has this illness ate at Taco Bell. We know this, but some of them. Okay. However, there was a whole thing to yesterday on the 19th, which was Sunday. The Food and Drug Administration, FDA, they came out and announced that a lab test suggesting that the lettuce that was contaminated that they had gotten from like a sample from Taylor Farms, it was actually a false positive. So they just don't have like the smoking gun, which has like the contaminated lettuce, but they also think that the lettuce came from Taylor Farms, specifically their Mexico facility. But no one has changed their position. Like neither the CDC nor the FDA have changed their positions that the outbreak is linked to that lettuce. So that's kind of where we're at. And now there's also another thing where Taylor Farms made a social media statement that said that the FDA personally apologized to them, which the FDA is now saying that that is not the case. And then there's other like news sources and lots of talk on social media about how the like the head of Taylor Farms is like a donor to the current presidential administration, the Trump administration. And so that is why the FDA, this is all unfounded. This is just like conversation and chatter online. But all these people are alleging that because he is like a donor to Trump's campaign and whatnot, that the FDA is like trying to underhandedly like, retcon the whole thing and say, oh, actually, and like try to like limit their guilt and stuff, because also Taylor Farms has been they have a history, unfortunately, of some in the past. There's been a couple of occurrences of other Cyclospora outbreaks, far smaller than this one, and some other health and safety violations over the years. So anyway, it's a weird story, and it keeps happening, and there's little developments, and anyway, so that's crazy. Did I tell you guys what it was? It's a parasite. The infections are really miserable. I explained all those symptoms earlier. But this is what I wrote about for our auction cover. Okay. Which also, by the way, has a really fun graphic on it that our graphic design team designed of the Grim Reaper holding a mixed salad, which is hilarious. It's so fun. I would like to address some of the comments that we have seen on our Facebook page about this story. Hopefully by now, some of you have read the story and gone beyond the Facebook post that was made to draw you in and hopefully attract you to read the story, which is not behind a paywall, by the way. You can just click the link. We do know some of these things, which are also in the story and have been all along, at least the one that I wrote.
To sum up, Paul, he's saying feel free to read the story before
please.
Commenting an opinion that the story would answer.
Correct. Yes. For example, we know for a fact, and it's in the story, that you cannot wash away, literally, Cyclospora from affected produce. There is no guarantee. There is nothing that you can do. There is no vinegar wash. you should not use bleach. Apparently, I heard something. A person was sent to the hospital because uh, their spouse like washed the lettuce in bleach or something to
You
try.
know what we could just start doing? Just
Yeah.
stop eating lettuce,
Yeah,
guys.
that's maybe the best.
Guys, this is like,
So yeah,
let's
yeah,
cancel. I think we need to cancel lettuce in 2026.
her, yeah.
I mean, hear me out. Like, how many times have you heard someone getting sick from like Panera or like no offense to go to Panera, but like any cafe or like specifically like chain
Yeah.
restaurants after eating lettuce, after eating some type of salad. That's a coli is like so many outbreaks. I mean, just in my family alone, like I have people that don't even consume salads at restaurants anymore because they've had such awful experiences. Had to go to the hospital. And it's
Oh,
always because of lettuce. Like
yeah.
we need to start like there's so many other greens. You could use spinach. You can use literally the leafy greens on from a beet plant.
Yeah.
You could arugula, like a million. There's so many. I'm not going to name all of them, but there's a
Mhm.
lot.
That's a lot.
There's a lot.
So yeah, no cleaning of your produce is going to fully guarantee that it is that you have eliminated any potential cyclospora lurking in like the folds of the produce or whatever. Cyclospora does die at 160 degrees Fahrenheit. So if you are cooking something that has lettuce or some other maybe like berries or something, if you're bringing the temperature up to that that level or higher, you will effectively kill the parasite and should not have any of these symptoms. But for like, I mean, if you're just making like a mixed salad, you're not going to cook it, and
Cooked
you're
lettuce,
gonna
yeah.
cook berry. Like you're usually consuming these things raw,
Who
so
have you ever like has anybody ever cooked lettuce? Like,
probably
I
not
mean,
that I can think of.
I mean,
I don't know.
that just
Yeah,
seems like a weird, you
yeah.
know.
That's not really a thing that we're doing so much.
Mm.
What was another problem? Oh, we're not doing PR for we're not doing public relations for like farms that grow lettuce. There's I don't we don't do that. We just don't do that. So like I'm sorry. That was a fun one, but no, there's no effort underway here at Farm and Dairy to like try to sanitize the story. Mostly what my story consists of actually is points that were made from Penn State University and the Ohio State University, just about like common practices that you should be employing anyway, just to keep yourself safe, not just from Cyclospora, but just practicing good hygiene in general, making sure you're washing your hands if you're preparing food. Um, and making sure that you are maybe exercising some caution if you go out to restaurants. Maybe if you're getting like a favorite dish, maybe hold the lettuce. Maybe don't eat some of the raw produce this time when you go out. Like, I actually made that decision last night. I went to DQ, Dairy Queen, and it was delicious. And I was gonna get like a nice sandwich, and I decided to get a chicken tendy basket instead
Yeah.
because that's just I trust that a little bit more. And it was delicious, by the way.
Mhm.
So that was yummy. Um, but oh, and also, somehow you will probably want to continue consuming, some kind of vegetable content, fruit content, and that is not me telling you to go support your grocers, your local farms, although that would be great. But also, as a human being, you just need to consume these things for your own health. So, like, although I do love the comments about having a donut only diet or a dessert only diet, Oreos would never do this to you. That is all true, and you can absolutely. I am not telling you what to do, but you maybe need to have some sort of for the fiber and for the water content that is in our fruits and vegetables, and for the antioxidants that some of these things provide, and from just the general health and well being that you help your body attain when you eat well. You should not just give up entirely on your fruit and vegetable content. So that is entirely it. It is a risk. You are taking risks. It would be very helpful. I think we did talk about this last week a little bit. It would be very helpful to know where you source your vegetables from. It's not that a smaller farm, maybe like a farmer's market, it's not that they're necessarily exempt from cyclospora, or that they wouldn't, possibly have that on their produce. But it's much easier to trace like a small local farm, like, oh, that was grown here, like a couple miles down the road or something like that, as opposed to like a facility in
Well,
Mexico where, where a truck and so anyway.
even then, I'd be a little skeptical. And
Mm.
I'd like to comment something and then
Yes.
ask you a question
Yep.
if possible. You said farmers market, which I
Yeah.
agree. We need to support farmers, markets. Buying locally is probably the best thing to
Mhm.
do right now. However, I will
However.
say, at least the farmers market that I go to that's close by my community,
Yeah.
we've heard rumors, and I'm pretty sure they're true, that there is this one farm in particular that every time at the farmers market, they have like all of this produce, and I'm 90% sure that all of their produce is from the Giant Eagle, like a grocery store.
No
And
way.
you can tell because they have they had blueberries in season as soon as the farmers market opened up after in
Wow.
May.
Wow.
Unless, I mean, and that's a shame for the people in the suburb that I live in, that
Yeah.
they're so unaware of the food system, no offense, that that they can't even like realize that this
Yeah.
is not a thing. Blueberries, for people that, most people are going to know, and our readers, that blueberries are in season like end of June,
Mhm.
So, or for example, like you're seeing I have beautiful fresh apricots,
Mm.
and I almost like want to go up to them and be like, hey, I'm just curious, like, how do you have apricots? Like, I know a lot of farms lost their stone fruits this year from the
Mm.
frost, and you can tell because then right next to them is a farm called Swoop's Farm, and I like to go to them.
Mhm.
You can tell because their produce is much smaller, and they don't have
Mm.
as many options,
Yeah.
and you can tell that they're actually bringing food that was grown on their farm versus
Interesting.
another farm, which I'm not going to obviously name the farm that I'm talking about,
Yeah.
that did that.
Interesting.
Another thing I'd like to comment, though, and this is like more social media like
Yeah.
speculation that Paul and I were seeing earlier before we came in to record this, is that Taylor Farms produces lettuce for so many, not only chain restaurants
Yeah.
like Pizza Hut and Chipotle and Subway, like
McDonald's.
lists
Mhm.
of restaurants, but they also supply like grocery store brand lettuce. So
Yeah.
you could go to the store and buy Giant Eagle lettuce,
Mhm.
and it could still be from Taylor Farms.
Yeah.
So for me, that's terrifying.
Yeah.
My question to you, again, speculation, but my question to you is, how has this story kind of changed your view of our food system?
That's a good question. Because I am an avowed salad kit consumer. I just, goodness gracious, I just want an easy meal to whip together very, very quickly.
That's
That's going to
healthy.
be that's healthy.
Yeah.
That's gonna be filling, and that I'm not gonna have to think about. And that is the dream, right?
Mhm.
And I think that this was a wake up call for me, that is not entirely possible, and that there is more labor that has to be done than I think I've been willing to do so far, to protect my own self, and,
Mhm.
and to not, because it's not even just the Cyclospora is one thing, but I think we were talking about this with Rachel last week, and it was like the salads. Don't quote me on this because this isn't 100%, but like, didn't she say that like it's this bagged salad kits that always come back, and they always have like some sort of like a recall, or
Mhm.
some kind of like
Again, it's always something to do with seemingly
yeah,
lettuce.
right. And so that's like, and like, I think I kind of knew that in the back of my head, but as long as they're on the shelf at this grocery store, I'm like, must be safe to eat. And I just
Yeah.
grab and throw in my cart. But that's maybe not the best practice if you are, not looking to, succumb to some sort of, can you imagine? I mean, these poor people thousands of people now that have gotten this Cyclospora thing.
Yeah.
I could not be able to leave my house. I wouldn't be able to function for like a long time. And I could
Yeah.
lose an extra 10 pounds, but not like that. Like, that's not how I want to do that. Okay. So, so anyway, it's really discouraging. And also if people are out there and they're feeling anguish over this story, and it just what we need, right? Like, there's so many items in the news that are freaking people out, and rightfully so. And then this is just like, oh, great. And the things that like I regularly buy and eat from the store are not even really that safe. I get you. I'm there with you. I feel your pain.
Yeah.
I get
To
it.
me, that's the more terrifying
Yeah.
part of it all, is
Yeah.
that it just kind of exposed
Right.
um how big of a problem, like we talk about how big of a problem, like for example, last week we were talking about meat producers and
Yeah.
huge like meat processors not allow,
Yeah.
just taking up meat packing industries, taking up space for, choking these smaller farms out. Well, this is like that on a completely different scale
Yeah.
where, we have this humongous, supposedly Taylor Farms
Yeah.
big lettuce supplier that is supplying, like you could go to the store and as a consumer, it almost makes me, again, like I said, I don't even know if I want to eat lettuce anymore because it makes me question like, oh, I could go to Giant Eagle and I could pick up a lettuce thing and think that it's Giant Eagle lettuce when it's still Taylor Farms. Like I could try so hard to avoid this brand that I'm skeptical of and I'm afraid of, but it could still end up with the brand because that is how like seemingly dependent we are as a food system on like these humongous one corporation that controls our entire food
For like
system.
the sake of convenience, we're not even like,
Yeah. And then something like this happens and it just kind of terrifies us all because it just exposes this like raw truth that, we live in this food system that has like just grown out of control, where you can't even trust anything because everything's rebranded, and I don't know. So, not to scare everyone.
And I still haven't gotten it. Like when this first broke like a week ago, I thought I was a dead man walking. I was like, this is my time is now. Like this is gonna come down hard on me, and I am going to have cyclosporiasis, and it's going to ruin my life.
And I'm guessing you're never getting bagged lettuce again.
Probably not. And I'm just like
bagged salad kits.
And like because it's such an easy meal to throw together. It's all I want to do, just really like mix things up in a bag and just throw it in a bowl and just like eat away. And that's it. And it's so nice because I don't want to spend hours making a week's worth of meals or something. I don't want to do meal planning. I don't want to do it. I don't have time. I don't have time. I have too many jobs and I don't want to do it. And now I have to do it. Because and I have to rethink my whole like approach to feeding myself, which is like, no. So I hate it. And I'm sorry that we are all going through this together. We are not trying to mislead you or there is no conspiracy afoot, at least in the Office of Farm and Dairy. So anyway, please do. And also I've updated the article a little bit that I worked on just to reflect kind of like the things that happened, at least in like the last day or two. But
so stay safe.
Yeah, stay safe.
Avoid lettuce.
Avoid lettuce.
Don't avoid all vegetables.
Don't avoid all vegetables, right.
Maybe like just lettuce.
Yeah, just
for now.
Practice caution. Yeah, if you are, like I said, like I literally I made a little conscientious decision last night and I was like, I'm not going to get anything with produce in it. And a chicken tendy plate is definitely not as good for you as like a mixed salad probably would be, but it hit the spot. But anyway, I don't know. Just do what you can. And if you have any questions that you would like us to answer about this story, we will try to answer them for you, or we will try to look for verifiable information for you. So anyway, trust your public health agencies. Keep watching what they're updating on this story, and just be well, everyone.
Cool. Well, I got some more news.
Yes.
One last story to send us off.
Let's do it.
So Ohio is one step closer to gaining primacy over Class 4 injection wells after Governor Mike DeWine signed House Bill 170 into law on June 24th, which establishes a regulatory framework for carbon capture and sequestration technology in the state. Wow. So for those who don't know or maybe need a little refresher, we haven't talked about this in a while. Carbon capture and sequestration is the process of capturing carbon emissions and injecting them into the ground via Class 6 wells. So House Bill 170, introduced by Rep. Monica Robb Blasdell.
She's everywhere these days.
Yes, she is.
Yeah.
She represents Waterford. She's a Republican. And Rep. Bob Peterson, representing Sabina, and he's also a Republican, establishes rules for CCS, a necessary first step for a state to obtain primacy from the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency. So, primacy. What is primacy, right? You're probably wondering. Class 4 injection wells are permitted by the federal EPA in all but 6 states that have primacy. They have state control to permit these wells. And those states are North Dakota, Wyoming, Louisiana, West Virginia, Arizona, and Texas. More states are seeking primacy because it allows them to permit wells just way faster at the state level than the federal level. You run into a lot of delays at the federal level. So that's why the states are trying to get it in their own lane. But last year alone, Last year alone, 3 states obtained primacy. West Virginia was granted primacy in February 2025, followed by Arizona in September and Texas in November. That was just last year. So it's really happening. So in order for these states to get primacy, though, you have to establish like rules for this technology, rules for the wells in order for you to get primacy, for the EPA to grant you primacy. So this, like I said, was the first step that Ohio needed to take. They needed to pass something in order for them to get this primacy. So primacy is like essentially the next step.
Mhm.
So the bill establishes definitions for pore space as subsurface cavities and voids, whether naturally or artificially created, that are used for sequestration. It also creates language recognizing the owner of pore space as the landowner who owns the surface rights and water for property. Pore space leasing will work similar to leasing mining rights for oil and gas operations. Under the new law, the Ohio Department of Natural Resources Division of Oil and Gas Resources will oversee Class 4 injection wells permitting. The bill, it also imposes forced pulling, as in if an operator can't get a landowner to sign over their pore space rights, the bill states that an operator must have at least 70% of landowners' approval in the proposed project area to proceed. That has gotten a lot of scrutiny from environmental groups and some residents about that. The bill has also set up funds to support the local community with money coming from operator fees. So this includes a fee of 5 cents for each metric ton of carbon dioxide injected, funneled into a carbon dioxide storage facility fund for post-closure care, like maintenance of the wells. So when the operator's done with the project, this is going to like service everything after that, essentially. The Senate Energy Committee added language to create a host community fund to the bill at the last minute, requiring operators to pay for 3 cents for each metric ton of carbon injected into a storage facility. The community fund will be available to the county commissioners, townships, municipal corporations, or school districts to be used for infrastructure improvements, parks and recreation, education, and public safety.
Nice.
Proponents of the technology, including oil and gas companies and farm and biofuels groups, see it as a way to reduce the carbon footprint of energy operations and bring in new markets to the state. So they see, they want to continue doing fossil fuels. This is a climate solution, is what they say. The Ohio Farm Bureau Federation also testified in support of the bill at a March hearing, stating that this technology would draw in more ethanol and biofuel plants to Ohio. So a lot of those farm and biofuel groups are seeing it as a way to boost the economy in the state. Meanwhile, opponents, including environmental groups like Save Ohio Parks and Buckeye Environmental Group, say that CCS would require more energy infrastructure, including a pipeline to transport CO2, which could harm landowners and the environment. This is a quote. The carbon capture pipelines and injection wells would steal more land, create more threats for farmland, and create more risks for humans, animals, and vegetables, said Mike Luber, who is an organic vegetable farmer in Harrison County. He said that at a May hearing for the bill. He said that during the opponent testimony for the bill. So in the past, pipelines transporting CO2 have led to explosions, including an incident in Satari, Mississippi in February 2020 when a pipeline ruptured after weeks and months of rain led the uneven ground to shift. Yeah. And if you don't know, the CO2 is an invisible and a poisonous gas. And this incident caused nearby residents to fall unconscious and others to have lasting respiratory and cognitive problems. So pretty scary. Yeah. So according to the EPA data, there are 12 Class 4 injection well applications already filed in the state of Ohio before we even have primacy. And there are 2 active injection wells in the United States.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's not a lot.
No.
House Bill 170 will go into effect in September. So, yeah, that's a little update for everybody on a new injection well that's likely coming to Ohio.
Okay, wow. The whole time you were talking about this, I keep thinking about those folks. I think you had reported on them that they found like the brine in the wells. Is
that
right?
was last week. Yeah.
How are they doing? Like in the wake of this news, like, are you thinking of them or?
I'm so glad you brought this up because that was one of the environmental groups. That was one of the environmental groups' reasoning for not wanting these injection wells. They specifically cited the Ohio Department of Natural Resources care in regulating Class 2 injection wells already. Class 2 injection wells are for waste from unconventional oil and gas, a byproduct of unconventional oil and gas drilling. And that is brine waste. We talked about that last week.
Right.
And they even brought the well owners that I mentioned that we've talked about multiple times, Bob Wilson and Bob Lane. Yeah. They went to testify. Actually, Bob Lane was kicked out of the hearing because he tried to talk and they didn't see value in it. Yeah, that it is a thing. It was pretty unfortunate. But yeah, no, that's what the environmental group was basically trying to say. Hey,
Yeah.
ODNR is not regulating class 2 injection wells good
Yeah.
enough. Why do we think we're going to be able to add a whole other,
Right.
injection well
Right.
like class
Mhm.
into this area,
Yeah.
and likely, I mean, I'm not sure where these class 4 injection wells are going to go, but I wouldn't be surprised if they go in Southeast Ohio, which
Yeah.
would be really concerning if they do go to Southeast. I mean, anywhere in Ohio.
Right.
Well, it depends. I mean, they might be great, right? Take it for what you will. People say the technology works. It could be an economic boost,
Yeah.
but I do think it would be concerning if they were in Southeast Ohio because they are having a lot of problems
Yeah.
with injection wells already.
Yeah.
It would be interesting to have class 4 injection wells in the mix.
Yeah. Wow.
So,
My goodness.
yeah. Wow.
We'll see how that shakes out. Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, we'll definitely be talking about this again.
Yeah.
So, like most stuff we're talking about,
Yeah.
this won't be the last time you're hearing it, guys.
Probably not. No.
So, well, I'm sure Paul and I are talked out.
Well, let's talk out.
I'm ready to stop talking about injection wells and diarrhea. So,
Can I just say, actually, very, very quick point.
Yeah.
If you can give a very small, very warm though shout out to Libs down the street.
Libs
From the Farm and Dairy office. in convenient downtown Salem. I had a great flatbread. A great flatbread. Buffalo chicken flatbread from Libs. Is it a bakery?
Libs, they're like a cafe.
Cafe?
Yeah.
Oh, it was good.
Oh
and
my
I had a good
God.
latte as well. So,
We're like, everybody look it up. Libs, Salem, Ohio, downtown Salem, Ohio. Our editorial team is obsessed with Libs.
Yeah.
Like when I tell you that, well, definitely Rachel definitely gets it like
Rachel's
every
a regular.
at least a regular every other day, if not not every other day, every week, if not every week. Every other week. Anyways, yeah. And then me, and then now Paul's on the bus.
Yeah, today was my first Libs experience,
Yes.
and I really was very satisfied.
Please go to Libs. They're
Yeah.
so good. The staff is so nice, and
yeah.
they just have really good
The beautiful
drinks
space
and
inside.
food.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, big fan. So
good vibes.
yeah.
Yeah.
I just wanted to end on that note.
Yeah, that's
Really
a great note
enjoyed
to end
my
on,
lunch.
honestly.
Yeah.
You know what you should support? Your local cafe.
That's right. Yeah. It was really good. So, yeah.
So, all right. Well, that is it for today. You can find all of the stories on farmanddairy.com. You could find your local newsstand and pick up a copy for yourself. Or if you're a subscriber, you get it to your house. Or if you want to subscribe, you can go to farmanddairy.com. Or, yeah, that's...
And we would love to
That's
have you
that.
subscribe. Join the party.
Yeah, join the party. Now you can hear diarrhea news every week now.
No, right. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
okay.
Hopefully not every week. Hopefully
Yeah.
this will be a short
I
term
know. I hope it
reporting
resolves very
thing
soon.
for Paul's sake as well. So
Please,
he's not
yeah.
sleeping with one eye open. Did the FDA apologize or not? Oh my God. All right. We're going to end it
Yeah.
here. Have a good week, everybody. Bye.
Bye.